is it's like the planting of the seed in the soil that will eventually like blossom into that flower or tree that you envision in that moment and that you desire to have in the future. And so why is it important to have goals or visions? And in my experience, it provides clear direction for like the steps that you will take moving forward. And I heard this beautiful analogy called I call it the sailor analogy, that encapsulates this pretty well. And so imagine you have two sailors on the coast, on the East Coast, and one of them knows exactly where they want to go. They're like, I want to go to the island of Bahamas. I'm going to bring my compass and bring all the necessary preparations to bring me there. That sailor knows exactly where they're going. And so 99 out of 100 times, that sailor will end up there. Whereas on the other hand, if there was another sailor who was like, I'm just going to see how far I can go into these oceans. Wherever I end up is where I end up. And maybe I'll see how far I can go. Because they don't have a tangible vision of where they end up, 99 out of 100 times, they'll probably end up in the middle of the ocean scrambling for their life and maybe end up on a deserted island if they're lucky. And so then how do we go upon the goal setting process? And the first step is deciding what it is you want to accomplish, right? So the more tangible it is, the better. The more easily you can visualize it, the better. And so one anecdote here for me was when I was setting my goals, my swimming goals for recruiting, right? So, I think all of us go through this process where you're in grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, and you're looking at different schools that you want to swim at potentially for university, but you want to know how fast you need to go. So what I would do was I would go on their websites, look at their top times from the previous season in my best events. So for me, it was like the 200 free. And if it's in short course yards, what I would convert it to short course meters and say, okay, I need to be able to go a 147 short course or whatever it is to be competitive. Or I would even reach out to the coaches in an email in grade 11 and asking them what times I should aim for to be competitive for a scholarship spot. So I think Rick was going to talk to me after. He'll probably go into more detail about all that. So, and the most important process, and then the most important thing is writing them all down. I remember when I was 10 years old, I still remember it today. Rob was telling us like the importance of like writing down our goals and keeping it somewhere that we always see, like beside your bed or something like that, or in a notebook or in a journal. And so I always would write down the splits, like the by 50 for all my goal times of the season whenever I was bored. I mean, we didn't have distractions like social media back in the day, or gaming. So when I was bored, I would just write my splits on a piece of paper. The second ingredient is self-belief. And I think this goes hand in hand. So once you have your goals set and you know what you want to accomplish, now you have to convince yourself and believe that, you will achieve it. There's almost no doubt. But obviously doubt always creeps in. It's always our biggest enemy. But, what I've learned is that it's always better to be delusionally optimistic than to be doubtful. So if you set a goal that I want to go, 159 in the 200 free, it's better to go the whole season saying, I know I'm going 159 than it is to like be, maybe I should make it 2 minutes or 2:01. No, like any doubt is a killer. And so there are many practices that help in that process. And it's different for everyone, but so there's visualization, meditation, prayer, scripting, affirmations, who you're surrounding yourself with and following on social media. I think nowadays with the internet and social media, I think it's really important for everyone to, and including myself included, to be cognizant and aware of like which accounts we're following on a daily basis, because there's a quote that says like, you are the product of your 5 closest friends. And these days, some of our friends are the people we follow on Instagram because we see their posts so much. So just be cognizant of that and knowing which practice works for you. I think for myself, I always loved to watch videos of like Michael Phelps or swimmers that I really looked up to, and just always watching their videos was one of the ways that for me was how I think became successful in the pool. And then dreaming big, obviously, it's much better to aim for the stars and land on the moon than it is to aim for the clouds and land there. I think very often we set our own ceilings and our own limits because we only want to think so far. So like one example for that is actually, I have here self-doubt, where I was like, because I was talking to several other schools during the recruiting process, and there was two other schools that I thought I was 100% going to end up at one of those two schools. It was like September, October. I was ready to commit, and but things have started falling through the cracks. And my older brother was like, why don't you just send an email to Harvard? Like, you have nothing to lose. Just send an email to them explaining your times and stuff. And I was like, but I'm probably not going to get in. Like, I don't have the grades or whatever. Like, anyways, I sent the email, long story short, and it ended up working out. And so all that to say, like, dream big. Ingredient number 3, which I think is probably the most important and the most like time intensive, it's like honoring the process, right? So, when you have these goals or these visions, this never happens overnight. It usually takes a long time. And so the way I like to look at when reflecting back on my swimming experience, I realized how much of a privilege it was to like be able to spend 2 or more hours every day at the pool. Like, it's like the laboratory, right? It's where you get to master the craft as a swimmer. And eSwim is special there too, because you have an amazing long course facility. You have amazing coaches. It is a privilege. Not many kids out there get to have the privilege where their parents are driving them to the pool every day. And so it's really almost like an art form, right? It's like you're learning how to balance with the water, and how do you pull hard through the water without breaking through it. It's a craft, really, and it's pretty beautiful once you take a step back from it. So don't take it for granted. Tough days are inevitable. So like the best example here is like, there's going to be days when you're feeling pretty like crappy or pretty down, and you're not able to maybe get the times on the board that you want to during practice that day. But what I learned was that as I got older as a swimmer was that it's not always about the times on the board during practices. It's also, there's a lot of skills, little things that you can always improve on. And so for me, for example, it was flip turns and staying on my back throughout the whole flip turn. I always had a tendency to kind of start rotating on my front a little too early. So one thing I started doing when I was at Harvard and I got older, whenever I was aware I was having one of those days where, maybe I wasn't hitting the times, I wouldn't beat myself up, and instead say, how can I use this time to better me myself? And it was be like, okay, every flip turn, I'm going to make sure that I hit the flip turn right. I hit the flip turn right. And then for you, that could be, making sure you keep your butt up in butterfly or breaststroke or staying long, like whatever it is. Sometimes we get obsessed over the time, and it's important to also think of other skills. So shifting that perspective, sometimes it's like, I have to go to practice at 5:30 in the morning tomorrow. It's so early. It's like, no, you get to wake up at 5 a.m. to master this craft of yours, this, your unity with the water. It's amazing. And then the last thing is like, don't compare yourself to others. Especially, that's something I had a problem with, I think, when I was really young. It was like before I was 15 or so, like I had a problem with always comparing myself to those around me. And it would really get down on me if I was getting beat in practice by whoever. But as I grew older, I realized that it's kind of a waste of energy to always thinking about everyone else, and instead focus on comparing myself from myself yesterday. Like my flip turn example, my flip turns, for example, like, am I hitting those 1 or 2 kicks off the wall that I want to, or am I just gliding off? If yesterday I was gliding and today I'm hitting 1 or 2 kicks, that means I'm moving forward. I don't care if the person beside me is doing 3 or 6 kicks. That's their journey. I'm on my own journey. So anecdotes here. So yeah, like this is my experience with yoga and dryland. I think when I was younger, especially, I didn't really appreciate dryland as much as I should have. And especially yoga. I remember we started doing yogas on Wednesday nights, and Wednesday nights were always the hardest practice. Because it was like, it was the end of a double day, and it was a distance practice, and we'd have to go up and do an hour of yoga. And I remember when I was younger, when I was like 14, I never really took it seriously. I was like, I'm just going to relax, like, just be lazy. But as I grew up, as I got older, when I was in grade 11, 12, and then after, I realized, wow, like this is like one of my weaknesses is my flexibility. It is my connection to my breath, and like these mind body connection, like all those little things go such a long way in the pool. So what I started doing was honoring that yoga practice, making sure I was on time. Even though the person beside me has their palms on the floor and I'm barely touching my toes, like I was doing the best I could. So I'm trying to keep stay cognizant of time here. So the fourth ingredient, so those were the three individual ingredients, I call them. Now we're move on to group and team ingredients, because groups and teams you'll find wherever you are in life, whether it's your university swim team or your corporation or organization later on in life. You're always going to be part of a team. And so for me, my experience with eSwim was, I always thought of eSwim as a really big family. I mean, I swam at eSwim from when I was like 8 years old until I was, I don't know, 20 or whatever, 18, I can't remember. But like for me, it was always a family. And so the oldest swimmers, I always looked up to the oldest swimmers, like those who were in high performance group or the other high groups. When I was really young, I would always look up to them, and almost as if they were like our older siblings. For example, like when we were in the locker rooms or we were on deck, I always really appreciated it, or I really, felt cool or special when the older kids would like talk to me and make jokes with me or whatever. So I think looking at eSwim as a big family is really important, because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, would you rather do all those practices and training all by yourself, or would you rather have people by your side that can push you while you push them? And so I say here, be grateful for your teammates, because like for myself, although sometimes it can get annoying or very difficult when you're racing the same person almost every day, but at the end of the day, realizing that you wouldn't be as good as you were without them there, and they wouldn't be as good as they were without you there, is a pretty empowering realization, and it fosters a lot of growth. And then, like my eSwim friends are still some of my closest friends until today. So like it's been almost 10 years. So it just goes to show how deep this connection that you're making with your teammates are now. Like we're we're almost 30. So ingredient number 5, accountability. So this goes a long way with in any team environment, right? So when you're embarking on a team journey, having people by your side makes it easier to hold yourself accountable to your individual goals as well as the team's goals. And this is like particularly magnified when you go onto like college, university swimming, because team success is heavily emphasized there. So you always have to be asking yourself, like, what are you doing to help the team achieve its season goals? And what are you potentially doing that's holding the team back from its potential? And one example from here was when I was at Harvard, me and my teammates, we all, like my classmates, the people who were in the same year as me, we all lived nearby each other. And when we were in our second year, our sophomore year, we were moved to dormitories that were pretty far from the athletic facilities, like almost as far as possible that you could be. And we had this problem where in morning practice, it was either we would walk 25 minutes to the pool or catch a shuttle bus that would take us around 10 minutes or maybe 20 minutes, but at least we were not walking through the snow. So we would take the shuttle, and the timing of the shuttle was really close. Like if the shuttle was ever 2 or 3 minutes late, that means we would show up on deck like after 6:30, which was when our practice would start. And so after a few weeks, our coaches got kind of fed up, and they told us, like, if you guys are ever late again, like you guys aren't going to be able to swim. And so we still took our risks, and we ended up showing up late one day, and we all got kicked out as a class. And so when I reflect on that, it's like the reason why we got kicked out was because we were disrespecting the people that were there on time. The swimmers who were there on time were there honoring the practice, making sure they were doing the best for the team. Meanwhile, we're showing up late, and that's almost disrespectful. So that, we took the steps necessary. We talked to the shuttle service and made sure that we got the shuttle earlier, and then eventually everything worked out. I mean, another example I wanted to touch on here was like saving up for a set. I think I remember doing this. I was racing. I don't know. You might know Tristan Cote. He's just swimming until last year. I grew up swimming with him pretty much for like 10 years. And we were doing a long course distance set one day where we were trying to hit like mile pace, or like it was descending 100s long course on a Friday morning at the Olympium. And the whole set, I was swimming on his hip, right? Like he was leading, I was on his hip the whole way. And then on the last 100, I was like, I have a lot of energy. I'm going to go fast. I'm going to go as fast as I can and get ahead of him. And then after we finished the set, I mean, he was visibly upset. I felt really bad because I was like, that was just unsportsmanlike what I just did. Like I swam the whole set on his hip. And then on the last one, I decided to show him that I can go faster. So I like, he was visibly upset. I apologized. I told him, look, like I shouldn't have done that. Like that was poor on my part. But him being there held myself accountable. So the last ingredient I have here is team pride. I think, again, no matter where you are, there's always a history for like whatever team or organization you're a part of, and being aware of that history and where you fall in it is, I think, really important, even like as a human being, right? Like we're all products of like, tens of generations of ancestors. And I think it's almost refreshing to think about like that you are, it's really easy to forget that, but it makes you helps you realize that like you're part of something bigger than you may think you are on the surface. And so you're all carrying the torch that's been passed on to you from many generations of e-swimmers, right? So e-swim has been around for decades, and you guys are now the ones carrying the torch. So take pride in that. And e-swim has consistently been one of the best age group clubs in all of Canada. So the fact that you guys are sitting here in this meeting right now as part of e-swim, like it really is an honor to be part of this club. Like it's not just, it could be just be chance, but it's very special and something that you should cherish. Like I remember I have this anecdote here. All other clubs knew that e-swim went in business. It was whenever e-swim, whenever we would walk on deck, it was, whether it was at the Olympium or if it was at Nepean or whatever pool it was, you felt like almost every other team was, oh, like there's e-swim, like let's see what they have in store this meet. Like they're probably going to be in lanes 4, 5, 6, 3, all the middle lanes, and like what are they going to do this time? And it was whether it was Oakville or Markham, whatever they were, we carried this I don't know, this like firepower that we didn't even have to like be loud about it. I think our swimming spoke for itself, and it was something we were all very proud of. And so I have here also creating the team culture that you want. I think that's something that became more clear to me when I was at Harvard. It was, the team culture is not cultivated necessarily from the coaches. It comes from the swimmers and the traditions and the whatever it is that you want to bring to the table. The swimmers are the ones that really create the culture. So, and the possibilities are endless. Whether it's, I have some pictures here, or for example, where we had body paint, where we would bring body paint to swim meets and we would cheer for e-swim, or, whether you want to have certain like big brother, big sister, little sister groups, whatever it is. I think if you have, as a swimmer, any ideas that you think would help bolster the team culture, like don't be shy to like go to the coaches and say like, hey, I have this idea, maybe we can try it, and then see what the coaches think about it. I think e-swim relays, this was one of the biggest things that stood out to me. I remember when it was later on in high school, but so Auburn University back in the day, so Auburn University is like a school in the south of the US where they were the strongest powerhouse team in the United States college swimming. And they had this chant that they would go, Auburn relays, Auburn. And then, so we brought that to e-swim, I remember. And then whenever, like the relays was always like the most hype part of the swim meets, because it was like at the end of the session and the finals, the relays come up, and then we would chant e-swim relays. And then we would just keep chanting e-swim relays. And we brought that to us because we saw it happening somewhere else. And so that was just one example of, bringing that team culture, the team pride to the forefront. And then, here, body paint. So I have these pictures here that I found on Facebook that I thought were embodied pretty well, like the team culture. And so, for example, this was at 2009. This was Zach, Rushin, Tristan, me, and Bogdan Sherbak. So there were 5 of us, where it was like a meet at eSwim, and we were all just like, I think we swam relays looking like this. I actually think we swam with body paint on, but I don't know if we should have. And then this was like an amazing swim meet. It was 2007 Age Group Nats. And I think we got all 3 team banners which are probably still hanging up at the Olympium. I don't recall, but they're probably still there. And this was like, this was my first ever age group nationals. And it was just amazing to be part of something like that. Like you can see, I'm down here, here's Tristan, here's Brittany McLean down here. You got Heather McLean. You got, yeah, we got a lot of people down here, but we were all really young. This was in 2007. So, but yeah, so that's it for Team Pride. And then I just have I added some recommended readings that I've read in the past that I thought really like helped me understand the power of my mind and help me push my full potential. And so The Secret, Asking It Is Given, Think and Grow Rich, and Can't Hurt Me. So these are all 4 books that I would recommend. These ones are a little bit more like spiritual in a sense. So if you're more spiritually inclined, these will probably resonate a little better. This one is like more like if you need fire under your butt, and it does have swearing in it. So just be cognizant of that. But if you need like fire under your butt and something to really motivate you, this book really pushed me to try some things that I hadn't tried before. So that's all I got for this. And then I have questions and answers, Q&A.
That was great. Any good questions before we go on to Rick?
Sorry, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, hi. I have a question about the gap year. It looks like you took a gap year between Silverthorne and going to Harvard. May I ask you why, and would you recommend to do it?
Yeah, so that's actually a good catch. I forgot to mention that. So yeah, I did take a gap year. The reason why was when I went through the recruiting cycle in the fall of grade 12, which is like when people traditionally do it. And I wasn't necessarily getting the attention from the schools of interest that I wanted because my times weren't necessarily there yet. And I was also like a later developer. Like I didn't really start growing much until the end of high school anyway. So I was improving a lot every year at that point. So for me, it was like it was a risk. But it was a calculated risk, knowing that if I just spend one more year of swimming, I'd be a little bit faster. And so I'd have more potential options. I didn't know what school I would end up at, but I did have goal time set because in the recruiting process, I was reaching out to coaches and they were giving me goal times. And so I was confident that I could hit some of those goal times if I took another year, which is why I decided to do it. But it was like definitely a risk. I mean, I recommend it in the sense that I'm personally a fan of like not necessarily rushing through things if you feel like things can work out differently. So if there's, I mean, I'm a fan of a gap year. For me, it also helped me be a little bit more older and more mature when I was in college. That 1 year I think makes a difference. So I was able to like make better decisions when it came to my like course load and things like that. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, thank you. And speaking about course load, may I ask about Silverthorne? This high school is for HP athletes, and what I've noticed, the academic workload is not that intensive as in other schools, and I see grades a bit inflated. So it's hard to understand whether the amount of knowledge they're getting, especially in math and science, and you went to statistics, so I believe you need a lot of math. So is Silverthorne really preparing for kind of academically challenging program in States? Or if it's not, like, what would you recommend? Because there will be too many challenges, like going to another country, swimming for another coach, getting used to university culture. And then if you understand that, oh my goodness, all my A's means nothing. Yeah, what do you think about it?
I mean, I personally found that Silverthorne actually did prepare me well for the maths and sciences. In fact, it was almost the opposite. It was like, I found that Silverthorne math and calculus, whatever they were teaching, was enough for me to like take, because I still started in intro calculus when I went to university. So you have the option to choose which level of math you want to start at least for where I went. So I was able to start at a level where it was like some of the material was overlapping with where I started in high school, but then it kind of took me the next step. Whereas some people may start a little higher, but for me, I found that like math and science, I was actually very well prepared. It was the writing and the English and for me, it was the writing and the English that, if anything, felt unprepared when I went and had to do that in university. So I don't know. I feel like as long as you're kind of retaining all the information and all the concepts that you studied in high school, if you're doing well in that material in high school, you'll likely do well also in university, because it all builds. It's like it builds on itself.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate your feedback.
Yeah.
About this.
Ali, I've got a question. Did you feel like the Harvard coaches supported your goals to go back to Canada and whether it be represent Canada or help you get ready for a Pan Pac trials or anything like that? What'd you feel about their coaching?
Yeah, so that's actually a great point. No, they were definitely very supportive. I think, like, for example, the Canadian trials would always be in like April, right? And so for me, conference championships would always be at the end of February. And then if we don't qualify for NCAAs, then there's this like month in between where you have to train for trials. And there were a couple, so only, I think out of the 4 years, for 3 of the 4 years, I did continue swimming after conference championships to train for trials. They were very supportive of it. The only downside at Harvard was that there were no other Canadians and no other swimmers and the US trials are all very late, like in June or July. Right. So very often what happens was, like, in that month, no one else was really swimming. There maybe be like 2 or 3 other swimmers who wanted to keep swimming instead of take a little break before they start their next block of training. So for me, they were extremely supportive when it came to that. It was just, the environment was like, a lot of practices were just me by myself. So that was, yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for the info. I hope everybody understands how difficult of a thing you've accomplished. To swim in college is one thing, but to do it at Harvard, that's the epitome. Congratulations. I think everybody should be very proud of you. I'm sure you're very proud of yourself. That's quite an accomplishment, buddy.
No, thank you. Appreciate that, Rick.
You're welcome.
Did you travel a lot in university?
Travel, yeah. So we would travel a lot for swim meets, but a lot of your swim meets are the dual meets. So you have a lot of dual meets with teams in your conference. So a lot of them were driving distance. So it was a lot of traveling, but on the bus. And then we would always do a training camp somewhere in the Caribbean. So in the winter, we would go to the Caribbean for like a week. But yeah, it was a lot of traveling. And then we would go to invites. We would go to the Texas Invitational every year in December. So we would fly down to Texas and swim at the Texas pool. Yeah. So, I mean, it was a lot of bus rides. So a lot of bonding with your teammates.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no more questions, I can hand it off to Rick or to Rob.
Well, just thanks, Ali, so much. We'll definitely speak, have you around with deck and helping out for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks, Rob.
All right, so we'll just jump into Rick. He'll go through the recruiting process, and he has lots and lots of information for you guys. So ask away anytime, Rick. It's your platform. The floor is yours.
Great. Hey, thanks. First, I want to congratulate you guys on replacing one great coach. I knew Kevin for a long time. Great person. Loved him to death. You got another good one. You guys are very fortunate to get a coach like Rob in, who not only knows how to coach, but I think genuinely cares about the kids. So I did a count. We worked with 25 Etobicoke swimmers over the years to help them get into college. Not all of them came to the States, but a lot of them, most of them did. We had, like Tristan, we worked with Tristan. He stayed in Calgary and such. But let me kind of let you know who I am. My name is Rick Payne. I'm the director of swimming with American College Connection. I've coached swimming for a little over 30 years. I spent 17 years as the associate head coach and recruiting coordinator at the University of Nebraska. While I was there, I actually coached one of your Olympic head coaches, Jan Bitterman, out of Calgary. I got to work with Penny Haynes a little bit too, and coached quite a few of your other, I think one of your politicians, Kyle Seaback, swam for me. I don't know how many of you remember Kyle. I think he's from the Toronto area, but worked with quite a few of the Canadians. I was fortunate enough to be an Olympic head coach in Sydney in 2000. When I got back from Australia, I decided to get out of active coaching and start American College Connection, because as a lot of you are seeing, there's just no help out there for you with the recruiting process. And as Ali talked about, he was kind of forced to take a gap year because he wasn't ready. And so that's why I started American College Connection. We specialize in swimming and diving. Everyone who works for me is a former college swimming or diving coach, with the exception of our academic advisor. She's a teaching professional. And just so you folks know, we're not a recruiting service. We're a recruiting education company. We're about helping the swimmers find the right fit for education first. Swimming comes second. Scholarships are third. And just like I wanted to ask Ali about the coaches and did they support his swimming, his Canadian goals? And that's a real, that's something you really want to find when you come to the States. There are some coaches that won't do it. If they won't let you miss a college dual meet to go back to Pan Pac trials or whatever. There are some coaches that definitely do. Some coaches actually will travel with the swimmers. The problem is there are a lot of coaches who talk the talk but don't walk the walk, and that's the tough part to try to figure out. I want to what I want to do is share with you guys basically how to do the recruiting on your own. Okay. I want to be upfront with you. We only accept somewhere between 12 and 14 families a month into our program. And we've got a big, long waiting list right now, but we're starting to partner with the Etobicoke. So we're at a point now where we're basically working with families from the teams that we partner with. So just to give you an idea, if any of you are interested at all, go to our website, www.accrecruits.com, and submit a free profile. We'll give you a call over the next few days and at least talk to you about your swimmer and give you ideas, give you plenty of free advice. But one of the things that has really changed in the recruiting process since Ali went through it, 2.5 years ago, the NCAA changed their rules. When Ali went through it, coaches were basically recruiting high school seniors, grade 12. They started communicating a little bit with high school juniors. That's all gone now. What happened 2.5 years ago now, the coaches are allowed to start recruiting high school sophomores, 10th graders, as soon as they finish their 10th grade year. Now, you can imagine what kind of problems that can create when you're talking about a 14 or 15-year-old having to deal with college coaches. So guys, you just need to understand, if you're interested in coming to the States, you have to start early. We normally like start working with swimmers as freshmen and especially as sophomores. The key, though, is to get your information in front of those coaches well before your sophomore year. June 15th after your sophomore year is the magic date. Okay, that's when the coaches they have unlimited phone calls, unlimited text, emails, and all of that. So keep that in mind. Now, this is for Division I and Division II. Division III is a little bit different. But just to give you an idea, things have changed. Now, when Ali went through it, Harvard was basically, they probably got you to commit either in your gap year, but in your senior year, they didn't really come after you as a junior. That's all changed. Starting last year, for the first time ever, we've seen Ivy League schools recruit swimmers as sophomores, and they are verbally committing to swimmers as high school juniors. We had 4 swimmers last year verbally commit to Ivy League schools as juniors. That's crazy, but it is what it is. Now, the Ivy Leagues, you got an admission slot, didn't you, Ali? You got an admission slot?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So what we're talking about, the Ivy League schools have 8 admission slots. Coaches have roughly 8 admission slots they can use to help swimmers get admitted into school as long as they have the minimum academic requirements. Okay. That hasn't changed. But I talked to the new Harvard coach, Kevin. I said, why are you guys going after swimmers early? He said, if we don't go after them early, the fast kids are gone. So that just reiterates, if the Ivy Leagues are starting early, everybody else is. Okay. So if you're interested in swimming in college down here, you really need to get your information in front of the coaches, either as a freshman or at least as a 10th grader, as a sophomore. One of the keys is that the coaches are going to be looking at grades first. They really are. I know your parents have been telling you that, but guess what? Your parents were honest with you. Coaches are going to be looking for grades first because they don't want to waste time on somebody who may be fast, but who can't handle the academics. A few years ago, the NCAA passed rules that really put some teeth into it. When I coached, if you had somebody that came in and they became academically ineligible, you just moved them on and you filled their spot. That doesn't happen anymore. If you have a scholarship swimmer who is academically ineligible, not only do you lose that swimmer, but you also lose their scholarship for a period of time. And if you do it enough, the school gets sanctioned or your team gets sanctioned. So that's why they're looking at grades first and time second. So when you're sending your information out to the coaches, you want to let them know what year you graduate. That's very important. What are your grades and what are your times? Don't list all of your times, okay? That does not show versatility. Usually that shows some very slow events. So pick your top 4, 5, 6 events. Relay splits count too. If you've been 53 in the 100-meter free and you've been 52.9 in a relay, that's what's going to catch the coach's eye. So use relay splits. What every coach in the country is they're all looking for the same thing. They're looking for swimmers who can score in 3 events at their conference championships. Okay. It's not rocket science, guys. All right. If you want to get an idea if a school would offer you a scholarship, go look up the conference championships that team is in, find the 16th place time in prelims, not finals, prelims in your top 3 events. Those are the times that you probably are going to be looking at where most swimming scholarship money starts. Okay. Now, the problem you got, like with Ivy Leagues, now Harvard, they used to take top 16, but now they're at a point where they're probably only supporting top 8. Princeton's probably the same way. Yale's probably the same way. Okay. So it varies. But if you just stick with the 16th place time in prelims at the conference championships, that's what you need to look for. Now, I hear this all the time from parents. Oh, Susie would be their best miler. That doesn't mean anything. If Susie can't score at conference, they don't need another non-scorer. Okay. Now, pretty much every coach in the country is looking to help the recruits find academic scholarship first. So they only need to fill in with swimming scholarships. Okay. Most academic scholarship money starts with around basically a 3.5 GPA. I think in Canada, that's about roughly 84 to 85%. Okay. They're also looking for SAT or ACT scores. ACT would be roughly 28, SAT around 1,200. The higher, the better. Now, that doesn't hold true for every school. For instance, Harvard has no academic scholarships at all. They have no swimming scholarships. They only offer need-based aid. So keep that in mind. That's true for every Ivy League school. Not every school, Division I coaches, they're allowed 9.9 scholarships for men and 14 for women. Now that includes swimming and diving. Everybody assumes, boy, all of these Division I teams have all this scholarship money. That's not true. Ivy League schools have none. We actually we have about, I'd say about 45% of the Division I schools are what we call fully funded, that have the full 14 scholarships to work with, or the 9.9. Okay. Most of them have a reduced number of scholarships or none at all. You know, for instance, William and Mary, they're Division I. They're not in the Ivy League, but they don't offer scholarships. Boston University, they don't have men's scholarships, things like that. So don't go assuming everybody's got scholarship money. Okay. What you need to do, provide the coaches, like I said, year of graduation, grades, all right, and times top 5 or 6 times. You want to let them know about your height. They're all looking for tall swimmers. Okay. It's okay if you're not tall, but tall helps. So if you're the coaches are looking for girls who are, 5'10" or taller, and the boys who are 6'2", 6'3". If you are that height, then you want to put that in front of the coaches. If you aren't that height, that's okay. Don't highlight it. They're looking for swimmers with big feet. Size 10 for girls, size 12 for boys. So if you've got those shoe sizes, that's what you want to let the coaches know. If you don't worry about it. It falls, having a size 9 shoe for a girl kind of falls into the useless information category. Coaches want to know too, what helps to sell your potential is to measure your wingspan, fingertip to fingertip, like an airplane. Now, keep in mind with recruiting, you will round up your height and you'll round up the wingspan. So if your wingspan is 5'11" and a fraction, it's actually 6 feet tall. That's just the way the game is played. The coaches will look at your wingspan as a measurement of your height in the water, or how tall you can be when you swim. So it's just another way of selling your potential. I've been doing this 21 years on your side of the fence in terms of recruiting. What we found, there are really 2 keys for successful recruiting. The first key is to get the coaches to chase you. All right. I know that's like Ali you didn't have that. You did it yourself. You had to go chase the coaches. All right. That gets very tiring and boring and scary because they don't always, get back to you. The other thing, since we're recruiting has moved so much earlier, you've got to find someone who can paint a picture of your potential. All right. Who can get these coaches to see you're a 16-year-old now, but how fast can you be for that school as a freshman? Before all of the rules changed, we've always done a good job of painting a picture of potential, but it was usually painting a picture of a swimmer's potential in their senior year of high school. That's changed now. So what we have to do now is paint a picture of that swimmer's potential and what they can be for that school in their freshman year. A little bit different, okay? Let's go over potential. Okay, certainly height is important, shoe size. One of the things we found, and I have yet to find a way to measure hand size. Every coach will tell you big hands are important. Big hands are big anchors, okay? But we really don't have a way of measuring that. What we've been doing, though, is, especially with the kids who are taller and have big hands, is we have them take a picture of their wingspan in front of the garage, palming a basketball in each hand. You'll be amazed at that visual, how much that visual helps the coaches. I've had Coach Salo at Southern Cal. I sent him a guy it was 5,500 meter backstroker. He said, I wouldn't normally want to recruit him, but the guy had a 6'11" wingspan. He looked like a pterodactyl. And he said, I just got to have him. It's everything you can do to kind of separate yourself. Now, collegeswimming.com did some research a few years ago, and they estimated there were approximately 40,000 high school girls around the world every year who want to swim in college. They estimated there's about 38,000 boys in high school every year who want to swim in college in the States. That's what you're up against. Now, let me paint a worse picture, though. You're not just, everybody, everything's open. You only have roughly about 2,200 openings for women, not scholarships, just openings to swim in college every year, and about 1,800 openings for men. 1,800 openings, you got 38,000 guys trying to get into 1,800 openings, 40,000 girls trying to get into 2,200. That's what you're up against. You've got to find a way to separate yourself from everybody else out there, okay? That is the key for doing this. One of the ways is with video. Coaches, since COVID has hit, a lot of people can't get video. I keep hearing that. Well, I can't get video. My parents can't get there. That's okay. Get a teammate to video you, okay? What we do, we provide all of our families with specific video instructions on how to take recruiting video. This is what you need to do. You need to get to the side of the pool. Parents, if you can be on deck, do it. If not, swimmers, get a teammate to do it. Needs to be filmed from the side of the pool, preferably up high, zooming in on the swimmer for about 60% of the race. The coaches want to see what your hips do at the end of your 100 fly. What's your last wall on your backstroke? How far do you kick out? Let me give you a tip. Everybody kicks off the wall, off the start and the first wall. Coaches know that. They want to see, what do you do at the end of the race? That's going to be important. So if you want to attract a coach's attention, your backstroker, learn how to kick underwater. And what I always challenge my swimmers when I coach, own the last wall of every race. While everybody else is decelerating, catching their breath for that last turn, that's when you can pass people. That's what college coaches are looking for. And Ali can tell you something. You watch Michael Phelps when he swam. Everybody knew he owned the last wall, and he owned them. They're swimming the 200 fly thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have enough lead. He owns them. And they know if they don't have a body length lead with that last turn, he's going to make it up on the wall. That's the kind of stuff college coaches are looking for. Okay. So you can help yourself by learning that with your club instead of having the coach, oh, I got to go teach this kid how to turn. I can tell you another thing the coaches are looking for in college is kicking. All right. Kicking is very important. You can watch any miler out there now, and pretty much every miler's got a 6 feet kick. You don't see anybody dragging their legs in a 200 free or especially backstroke. That's just the way of the world now. You watch all the world-class swimmers and they've got great legs. Get your legs in shape, okay? The average college swimmer can hold a set of 5 100s kick, short course meters, on about a 130 interval, about a 140 interval for long course, or about a 130 interval for yards. So you need to be working on that. So you got to tell yourself, look, if I want to get recruited by college, I got to get my kicking going, okay? And work toward getting that 5 100 is a set we use, okay? Coaches don't know what a 500 meter kick time is, but they do know intervals. So remember, what we always ask the swimmers we work with, on a set of 5 100s kick, I want to know the fastest possible interval you can survive. 2 to 3 seconds rest, touch and go for 5 100s. That's what we put in front of the coaches. Okay, so if you're not a really good kicker, you don't put that in front of the coaches. All right, you highlight yourself. Now, when you're looking at schools like Harvard and Carnegie Mellon and Duke, they don't want just good grades. They want to know that you challenged yourself in school. You can't take basket weaving and ashtray making and get A's in it and expect to get into those schools. They want to know that you've been challenged. Okay. Melinda is our academic advisor. She's the only non-coach on staff. She's a teaching professional. I had her reach out to the Ivy League admissions directors among about 80 or 90 other schools around the country. And they all said basically the same thing. They're looking for young people who give back. They tell us everybody's got great grades. It comes to Harvard. Everybody's got great, great test scores. They're looking for people who make a difference, athletes. And they all said the same thing. The best way to get into schools like that is having a coach back your admissions or using an admission slot. Only the Ivy League schools have admission slots. So if an Ivy League coach uses a slot, you're almost guaranteed of getting admitted. None of the other schools outside of the Ivy Leagues have admission slots, but many of the coaches have a lot of ways of supporting your application, backing your application. They can definitely help. Okay. So it's about grades though, but like I said, with Ali, had he not been a swimmer, he probably would have gotten into Harvard. One of the first swimmers we ever worked with was years ago. He was the young man was a junior national level swimmer down here, pretty good times. He wanted to go to Princeton. He had great grades, but he had swimming and grades, and his times were only so-so. The coach really was going to have a hard time using an admission slot. And I happened to talk to the young man's mother. We were chatting, and she said, does it make a difference that he's a Juilliard level cellist? I went, whoa, let's go find out. And sure enough, I let the coaches know that. 2 days later, I got an email from the young man telling me, oh my God, I'm going to Princeton. It's little things like that. The volunteer work is very important at those high-end academic schools. Now, you got to keep in mind in the States, we have We have junior colleges. They're 2-year schools. They're easy to get into. They're not very expensive. Unfortunately, there's only about a half a dozen of them that have really good swimming coaches. All right. Then we have NAIA schools. NAIA is a different affiliation from the NCAA, but they're 4-year schools. There's some very good coaches and very good programs, and there's some weak ones, just like anywhere. They do offer academic and athletic scholarships. Then we have Division III. Some of our best college coaches are at the Division III level. The Division III coaches, they turn out Olympians. All right, we've seen that before. They don't give athletic scholarships, but most of them have very creative ways of making school affordable. Do not rule out a Division III school. They're very, very strong academically. And like I said, a lot of them have, I think if you took probably our top 50 college swimming programs in the States now, I would say probably 15 or so would be D3 and D2 programs. Okay, that's how good some of them are. All right. Division II, but they've gotten really fast. They are really fast. They offer scholarships in both swimming and academics. We have some outstanding academic schools. We have some average ones. There's some great coaches at the Division II level. Don't get stuck thinking you have to go Division I. That is such a bunch of baloney. Okay. We've got Division I programs that, my God, are just terrible. I'm not going to lie. We have some lousy coaches at Division I. Okay. Don't get stuck on that. Schools in the States are placed in divisions that has nothing to do with swimming. All right. So keep that in mind. It has more to do with how many sports they sponsor and how big their football stadiums are. That's how they get stuck in the divisions. So don't get stuck with that. Okay. Keep in mind, every school down here can possibly be affordable. Okay. So don't let people tell you, oh, don't look Division III because you can't afford it. That's just not true. All right. You need to start early. Like I said, if you're 9th grade or 10th grade, you need to get your information out. Okay. Start with the pertinent information, you know, your graduation, grades, average, grade point average, your age, height, weight, times, things like that. Video is, since a lot of people, a real advantage for you with COVID now is to, if you're interested in getting recruited, is get race video. Okay. A lot of people don't. A lot of recruits don't. And the coaches, they're not going to want to give you, a $50,000 a year scholarship without seeing you swim. And they're not going to be able to come to Canada and watch you swim. Okay. So you need to be, once again, keep in mind, you're trying to separate yourself from the other tens of thousands of swimmers around the world who want just what you want. Okay. Video is going to be important. Now, part of the problem with you doing the video is that how do you get it to them? A lot of coaches in their IT departments, they stop any outside video due to viruses and stuff like that. Probably your best bet is to go ahead and mail DVDs. Right now, I'm thinking that's the best thing. That way they at least can watch them without having an IT department block it and things like that. When you do the video, okay, make absolutely sure you find a way to highlight your swimmer in the video. It is not enough to say Susie's in lane 5. Okay, it doesn't work because when you look at the video, usually you can't see lane 1 from lane 10. I had a parent call me a couple of years ago. The lady was just in tears. I thought someone had died. And she's telling me that we've been reading your tips on SwimSwam and we started the recruiting process early, and she told me I put in 10 hours a week with the recruiting with Susan and on and on. I said, well, great, you started early, great, good for you. And then she told me we mailed out 110 DVDs of her swimming. And she said, she's still crying. So it cost us almost $900. I said, oh, great, how'd that work? Well, you know what happened? They mailed all these DVDs out. And they simply told the coaches that Susan was in lane 3. When they looked at the video, you couldn't tell one lane from the other. Her teammate in lane 5 got recruited for all their hard work. Okay. Make absolutely sure you highlight your swimmer in the video. Okay. Now, if you're in the 10th grade, you're going to need to update your video. Let me give you some tips for the guys. If you're, 15 years old and you weigh 120 pounds and you look like a war orphan, probably don't want to send the video, okay? Or if you do, have the video start with you taking your mark. What you don't want to do is have the coaches look, God, I like this guy, but look how little he is. One of the girls, we worked with a Canadian gal years ago from Vancouver. She was 5'2", 107 pounds, and she was good. But I wouldn't let the parents, when we had our video director actually edit the video so that the video started with her taking her mark. I didn't want you can imagine what she looked like at a swim meet. She looked like some 8-year-old or something. But we got her a full scholarship at Oregon State. She was an All-American, and she almost made the Pan Pac team coming back to Canada. That's one of the keys for you guys in Canada. You want to find coaches who will support your goals for representing your country, whether it be from Canada or anywhere else, okay? Some coaches do, some coaches don't. It's the coaches that are in the middle that, sure, okay, no problem, sure, and then they don't. One of the first Canadians we worked with was Jillian Tyler from Calgary, one of your 2-time Olympians. She was ready for, I think it was 2004, I believe, might have been 2008. She was really close to making the Olympic Games. And, I talked to a bunch of coaches, and we found the University of Minnesota coach, Kelly Kramer. He and I are very good friends. I said, Kelly, you got this young lady, she wants to swim in college. She wants to get an education, but she wants to make the Canadian team. So he said, okay, I'll make that a priority. And he brought her in, helped her get much faster, and actually gave her full scholarship. He took her to the NCAA championships in 2004, but didn't shave and taper her, so she could shave and taper for the Canadian trials the following week. She placed well. He almost got fired when his boss found out you're giving her this kind of money and you didn't shave and taper. But anyway, she made the Canadian team. All right. The next year, she won the NCAA championships in 100 breast. And then 3 years later, she made the Canadian Olympic team again. That's what we're trying to find, all of the Canadian swimmers. And, I know a lot of you are not thinking maybe you're going to represent the country or whatever, but if you are, that's what you've got to look for. And you've got to really, before you even commit to a school, you've got to talk to those coaches about, Coach, I've got world championship trials, in 2 years at this date. Would I be able to go back home for? You need to get them, pin them down on that before you commit. Okay. Scholarships down here. When you talk about a full scholarship, you talk about everything: room, board, books, fees, tuition, meals, swimming, everything's covered. You don't have any swimming expenses down here if you go to college. No more swimsuits to buy, no entry fees, no travel expenses. Okay, so don't think, okay, well, that coach promised to pay for all my swimming expenses. No, they all do that. All right. The thing that you have to look at when we talk about finances down here is, once again, room and board, books, fees, tuition, meals. We've got some schools down here that cost $18,000 a year for everything. We have some schools that cost $85,000 a year for everything. Okay. And they're all in between. So when you talk to a coach, and the coach even a lot of coaches will, if they really want you, they'll maybe suggest scholarship money. We may have some scholarship money, things like that. That doesn't mean you're getting offered a scholarship. Okay. What we have our swimmers do is, if you're going to do this yourself, okay, what we do is totally different than you having to do it yourself. But if you're going to do it yourself, get your information from the coaches. Remember now, if you're in grade 10 or grade 9, D1 and D2 coaches cannot communicate with you at all. They can mail you something, but they can't do anything to recruit you until June 15th after grade 10. So, but you got to still get your information out. And you don't know if they're reading it or not, because they can't even tell you, hey, thanks, we got your info. But you need to continue to do that. Get your information out to these coaches. Keep it short and sweet. Don't give them a big long letter. They don't care that you were a Boy Scout when you were 8. Not right now, anyway. Okay. Let me tell you though, if you're in scouting, we use this a lot too. We have some of the kids we work with are Eagle Scouts. That helps. That separates them. Okay. I don't know if you have that in Canada, but little things like that. But don't, you know, I know what happens when you sit down with mom and dad. They go, okay, well, honey, let's get this resume together. And you keep going, and mom's going, remember, you were the class president when you were in the 5th grade. Put that down. No, don't put that stuff down. Okay. Short and sweet. Coaches are not readers, they're scanners. They're going to look, what year do you graduate? All right. Are you academically eligible? And are you fast enough? Those are the main things. Then they start to look at how tall. Then they look at potential, things like that. Okay. Part of the things that we do, all right, is we get the coaches to chase the swimmers. If we work with any of our swimmers, we don't want them chasing coaches. That's where you chase scholarship money right off the table. I loved it at Nebraska when somebody came to me and said, hey, coach, I'm really interested in Nebraska. I'd like to come swim for you. Put my arm around them, recruit the heck out of them, and take my money and throw it at somebody in California who didn't want to swim for me. Okay. What we do is get the coaches to initiate contact with the swimmers. And we also, because we're former coaches, we're able to paint a picture of potential. So with the video, we actually, all our families do is get the raw footage following our instructions. We've got our own video director who does all the editing and highlighting and makes sure he spots the swimmer. We put some of the swims in slow motion. And then we as coaches analyze the video for the college coaches. So we point out, you know, look at Ali, look, you know, he's going, you know, 56 and 100-meter fly, and he's still only taking 2 fly kicks off the wall. Or, you know, watch how he keeps his head down and doesn't breathe the last 15 meters. Little things like that we're able to point out to the coaches, and been doing this 21 years, so we know they really appreciate it. We don't leave it to them to see it. Okay. Even we've got some coaches down here that wouldn't know a good stroke if it hit them between the eyes. So we want to make sure that that's just the way of selling potential. Okay. Remember, if you're a 9th or 10th grader, you send out video, you want to update it. Okay. Probably sometime at the end of that season, you want to let those coaches see, especially if you add a new event. Okay. So that's all part of this, is once again separating yourself. Now, ideally, we've even got 8th graders that we work with. A few years ago, if you'd have said we're going to work with 8th graders, I said you're crazy. That doesn't, but it's true. You almost need to start that soon. Maybe not 8th grade, but 9th grade, 10th grade, definitely. Now, is it too late if you're a junior or a senior? No, it's not. But your options are getting more and more limited the longer you wait. There are schools, we get roughly every year, we'll get about between 60 and 100 college coaches contacting us, looking for swimmers for the following year. Okay, so we get that. And that's maintained even through COVID. Okay, so it's never too late. Okay, the recruiting changes almost daily. Oh, we don't need a butterflyer today. And the next day, oh, our butterflyer became academically ineligible or got injured or isn't coming back. So you never want, it's never stagnant. Okay. So it really is never too late. It just depends on, once again, your grades and your times. Okay. What we're able to do with the coaches, coaches, a lot of times they'll put in an order with us. Hey, Rick, I need a sprinter or a sprint freestyler for next year. And we'll go, what kind of times and what will it cost? If we found you somebody, you know, a young lady who goes 27 flat, long course 50 free, what would that cost? So we try to help with that. And once again, just kind of connect. Doing it yourself, though, here's what we recommend. Get your information out, get your video out. Probably resend it 2 or 3 times. You're going to need to do that. Okay. Even with us, we have to continue to go after the coaches. They don't all respond right away. Do not assume that a coach isn't interested. If you looked at their conference results and you see you've got 3 events in the top 16, okay, at their conference championships, they're going to probably be interested in you. If they don't get back with you right away, don't assume they're not interested. Send it again. And again, and however many times you need to. With us, if we contact a coach, we'll reach out to them, and we have the swimmer let us know roughly within a week. If they don't hear back, we contact the coach again. If we don't hear back after that, we actually call the coach. Coach, did you get their information? Are you interested or not? We're not looking for magic. We want answers. Sometimes the answers are no, and that you're going to get the same thing. It's okay to get a no. All right. At least you know to move on. But once again, do not assume. I got after one of the coaches in Texas. She wasn't responding. And I got pretty tough. I said, look, I've sent you some great kids. We don't hear back from you. What are you doing? Come to find out her husband almost died of COVID. Okay. So I assumed she was being lazy and that was just the wrong thing to do. Okay. Once again, don't assume. Now, when you get coaches contacting you back, okay, thank them for their interest. Ask them some questions. Okay. Don't just go, hey, thanks for contacting me, coach, and not ask questions. So what you want to do is get the coaches to be communicating back and forth. Don't ask a ton of questions, but ask some specific questions. And don't ask about scholarship the first time around. Okay. Good questions to ask. Okay, coach, what you need to do is really do your homework and go to that school's website. And what really works for our swimmers is when they have a coach contact them, and we have the kids contact them, we thank them for their interest, and we have them go to their website and coach, hey, I noticed on your website that you were conference coach of the year. Congratulations. I've got a couple of questions. Always do that, because the typical recruit is going to be, thanks for looking at me. Here are my times. What kind of money can I get? I think I'm worth this. What do you think I'm worth? That's how the typical recruit comes across. Coaches hate that. I always hated that. Okay. Get to know the coaches. Don't be greedy. You don't ask about money right away. You want to find out if you want to go there. All right. Don't be asking for money if you don't even know you want to go there. So probably about the third communication, especially when coaches start asking you for, hey, we really like you. We'd like to have you come on an official visit. When that happens, that is the time when we have our swimmers ask about scholarships. And first thing we tell them, take the word scholarship, throw it out the window. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything what a school is going to give you. Bottom line, what do mom and dad have to give the school? Okay. So I'll give you some perfect advice here. Here's how to ask for a scholarship. Coach, thanks for your interest. I really like to take an official visit. Hey, I really like the way your backstrokers did last year. I saw you had an extra swimmer qualify for NCAAs or whatever. Congratulations. I'd be very interested in coming on a visit, but my parents wanted me to ask you what you think it might cost. That's how you ask for a scholarship. Okay. That allows a coach to suggest maybe academic scholarships, maybe merit scholarships, maybe swimming scholarships. And a lot of times you'll get a coach they're not used to hearing that from a typical recruit. So they may come back with, hey, we want to offer you 30%. Your response needs to be, gee, thanks, coach, but my parents don't understand percentage. Can you tell me what it's going to cost? Stick with the cost. That keeps you out of the games with the coaches. When I was recruiting at Nebraska, we'd have Texas or Stanford jump on a kid late. I'd offer this kid a full scholarship. Stanford would come along and say, hey, we want you twice as much. We're going to give you $20,000 instead of Nebraska's $10,000. And they'd go, okay. They go to Stanford, they still have to pay $20,000. So don't get stuck in that game. Keep it about affordability. You and your parents need to sit down together and decide how much they are willing and able to invest in your first year at what you would all consider the perfect school. We always ask our parents this, okay, so that we can provide better guidance. Here, if you're looking at a school that costs $60,000, mom and dad can only afford 10, and you know you're not going to get 50, then don't waste your time anymore. Okay, that part's important. The key, you have to understand too, a lot of times the first offer is not always the best offer. All right, so there is certainly negotiating to do. And the negotiating comes in with leveraging one school against the other. All right, so if you're interested in a school in, say, the Big Ten Conference, you want to try to get 2 or 3 other Big Ten schools to recruit you. You want to go to, you want to go to Harvard, and you get Princeton and Yale to recruit you. That just creates that leverage there, that you want that coach to have extra incentive to keep you away from their direct competitors. That's the best way to get the best scholarship offer. Okay. But we kind of teach our swimmers if we can get, let's say I'm just going to pick schools. Let's say we have somebody who wants to go to Northwestern. They're in the Big Ten Conference. Okay, well, let's get Indiana and Wisconsin to recruit you too. They're in the same conference. Well, I don't want to go to Wisconsin. That's okay. Don't tell anybody. Let's get Wisconsin. Wisconsin will recruit you. If Wisconsin would offer you a scholarship, we'll show you how to leverage that against Northwestern's offer. We do that all the time. Now, keep in mind, the NCAA does not allow us to negotiate for scholarships for the families, but we teach them how to do it. We're also not allowed to guarantee a scholarship. If you talk to anybody out there that says, hey, send me your money and I'll guarantee you a scholarship, run the other way. That will ruin your eligibility. There's a recruiting service, I think it's in South Africa, that guarantees a scholarship, absolutely guarantees a scholarship. For $5,000, they guarantee a scholarship. When the NCAA starts investigating them, everyone that goes through that company will be ineligible because they violated NCAA rules of guaranteeing a scholarship. Okay. I'll give you guys some fresh advice now. We've been looking at every one of these recruiting services all over the world. Nobody does it what needs to be done. Okay. If you do not go with us, save your money and do it yourself. Okay. I'm just telling you right now. We get a lot of calls from swimmers and families who use NCSA. A lot of you probably been contacted by them. They're not crooks. They do all sports. They probably sign up more people in an hour than we do in a month. They know how to take money, but they don't know what they're doing. You need to have somebody who has contact. That's why we specialize in swimming and diving. We have contact with the college coaches. I can pick up the phone and call the Harvard coach or the Stanford coach or the Texas coach tomorrow and recommend somebody. Okay. So you got to keep that in mind. Once again, if you're going to do it yourself, get started early. All right. With a couple of things too, with the academic side, it used to be we would recommend for our swimmers to go ahead and take the SAT or ACT like toward the end of your junior year, grade 11. You can't do that anymore, guys. You're going to have to take the test probably in the fall of grade 10. It's what we recommend. Take one or two of the tests. You can take them both. But we ideally take both tests, and whichever one makes the most sense to you, take that one again. You'll almost always do better the second time. Okay. Every school in the country will take either test, and they are a little different in their wording. Okay. So that's what you've got to decide. You ideally want to have your scores done, even your second test taken by December of grade 11. We are seeing a lot right now. I just did a count. We've got 39 high school juniors who have given their verbal commitments already. That's what's going on. Okay. Things are moving so much earlier. A verbal commitment is your word. Okay. You will read that swimmers are decommitting here and decommitting there. Yep, it happens. But I'm going to tell you, it does come back to haunt you if you do that. If you give your word, honor your word. All right. If you commit to go to a school, stick with that. Don't commit till you're willing to honor your word. The worst case scenario is you have to go there for a year. If it doesn't work, then you can transfer and go somewhere else after that first year. Now, keep in mind, verbal commitments are not binding, but it is your word. Coaches will give a verbal commitment. For instance, now with the Ivy League schools, our swimmers have got, they gave a verbal commitment. We can give a verbal commitment anytime, but what are you going to get out of it? So the Ivy League coaches, where our kids verbally committed, also verbally committed to use an admission slot. Okay. Coaches that have scholarship money, they will verbally commit to give you a scholarship. So you verbally commit to go to a school, they verbally commit a scholarship to you. Okay, that's pretty much how it works. Once again, it is not binding until you actually sign. And the signing period is the second Wednesday in November of grade 12. That's when everybody signs. So we're getting ready with all our swimmers coming up to officially sign. Okay. You cannot sign unless you get some form of athletic scholarship. So when you see these slow swimmers, or you talk to some of these slower swimmers, oh, I signed here, I signed there. No, signing means you got athletic aid. You can commit to being a walk-on, which is no athletic aid. Even if you get academic aid, that's still not signing. Okay, it's only athletic aid. All right. So you have to understand too, there's some negotiating to do. You get a scholarship offer from a coach. Remember, coach says, hey, we really want you. We'd like to give you 50%. Your response needs to be, coach, thanks, but my parents want to know what it costs. Stick with the cost. Okay, it's going to cost, $15,000. Okay. Now, scholarships coaches are allowed to guarantee the scholarship beyond the first year. You need to ask that question. They don't automatically do it. And chances are they won't do it unless you press them. Okay. That's one of the questions you want to ask before you actually sign or commit. Okay. Is a scholarship guaranteed beyond the first year? If you don't have a full scholarship, you want to ask, what will it take to earn more scholarship money in my second year? If you're about to verbally commit and there's no scholarship offer, that's okay. But you want to ask, what will it take to earn scholarship money in your second year? Okay. Those are some of the things that you really want to ask before you give your commitment. Now, how do you know if you got the best offer? That's a tough one. You've got to look not only at how many points you would score for the team, but you have to look at too, as you get faster, how are you going to help the team down the road? Okay. If you're let's say you're a girl and you're a 1/1600 meter breaststroker now, and you're going to college, you're going to get faster. So you want to be thinking, how, can I eventually be a 110, or will I be 112 or whatever? And you got to look at how that's going to help the team too, as you get faster. So that kind of weighs into your negotiating. Okay. Now, selling your potential is key. Okay. We sell our swimmers' potential all day long, but we also teach them how to sell their own potential. And this is how you do it. And Ali talked about goals and things like that. He's right on the money. You want to tie in selling your potential with your goals. So let me give you an idea. We're just going to play a scenario right here. If I'm a swimmer and I want to go to a school, let's say I want to go to the University of Texas. Okay. And I know I need to sell, Coach Reese on, I'm going to get faster. Basically what you do is, coach, I want to let you know, I sat down with my coach and I came up with my goals for this season. And I want to let you know, I will be 155 flat or faster in the 200 meter free in December. And here's why I know that. Okay. I know I have to hold, in order to go 155 flat, I've got to go, 56 plus, 58 plus. All right. To do that. That means I've got to hold 29 lows and 50 frees on my back half. I can already do 10 of those in practice from a push. I know I can drop, my time to 155 because you don't just say I'm working on my turns. You tell them exactly what you're doing. I've tightened my streamline. I'm taking 2 extra fly kicks off the wall. Okay, that's what they want to hear. You don't tell them you're working harder. No. What are you doing? Coach, I just dropped my interval on a test set of 10 100s. I dropped my interval by 5 seconds. I'm working on my kicking. No. I've dropped my interval on my kicking by 5 seconds. I'm working on finishing my kick and breaststroke. Be specific. You're talking to coaches who understand swimming. They don't want to hear that you're working harder. Okay. They want to hear what you're doing. That's how selling your potential works. It ties in with your goal setting. Okay. Now, unfortunately, you don't have, Rob's not going to be able to sell everybody's potential. Okay. That's just not realistic. Okay. So you're probably going to have to sell your own potential, but that's the way to do it. Now, I like what Ali was talking about I think he was talking about breaking this time. Okay. Your goal is not to break 155. If your goal is to break 155, then your goal is actually going 154.9 or faster. That's what you want to get the coaches to see. I see this all the time where girls will be talking to a coach and coach, my goal is to break a minute in 100 free. Well, the coach just saw a minute. That's what you put in front of them. Put what you want them to see. I will be 59.9 or faster. Always put the or faster. I'm sure Rob and the rest of the coaches would kind of agree. Leave it open-ended. You don't want to, you don't have your goal is not to break something. Your goal is, what I ask my swimmers, what's your goal? Oh, I want to break this, break that. No. What's the scoreboard going to say? Is it going to say broke a minute? No, it's going to say 59 or 58. Put those numbers in front of the coaches. Relay splits count, okay? Use relay splits to sell yourself to the coaches. Just let the coaches know that they're relay splits, okay? That's just so important that you present yourself in the right way. If I could teach every one of our swimmers to say yes, sir, and no, sir, and yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, we would have a home run. Right there, it separates you from everybody else. So be very respectful to the coaches, all right? But you want to be self-confident and you want to have questions to ask. Take notes, all right? Make sure you keep track of things that you talk about to the coaches, all right? When you know a coach is going to call you, go look up their bio. Be able to engage them in conversation, okay? If you knew Coach Novak was going to call you, go look up his bio. Coach, I saw that you were conference coach of the year 2 years ago. Congratulations. Or I saw that your butterflyer set a team record last year. Congratulations. It could be something as simple as, Coach, I read on your bio that you and your wife have a 14-year-old daughter. Is she a swimmer? I know you don't care about that, but that separates you. No recruits know to do that. Okay. You want that coach when they hang up the phone going, wow, I can't wait to talk to her again. Okay. That's what you want. That's all part of selling yourself. Keep in mind that in terms of eligibility, you have 5 years to complete 4 years of eligibility. Now, Ali took a gap year. That's called a gap year. The NCAA allows you to take 1 year after you complete high school before you must enroll full-time in a university. If you can also take a half of a gap year. If you graduate in June, you could take half of a gap year and actually come to a school down here in the States in January. That's a possibility. The good thing about it is the cost is cut in half. It gives you a semester to impress the coach. Now, you don't start classes or courses in the middle of a course. You start fresh there, but you will start in the middle of the season. So you got to come in shape. Okay. We've covered a lot of different information here. Real quickly, let me tell you about American College Connection. Once again, we specialize in swimming and diving. I've got former college coaches working for me, with the exception of our academic advisor. Our objective is to help our swimmers find the best fit for academics first by leveraging their swimming. We also want to help them get the right fit for swimming too. Scholarships are third on our list of priorities. We're not allowed to guarantee a scholarship. We're very, very upfront about that. On the academic side, we have our own academic advisor. She actually works with the swimmers or divers in grade 12 with their college essay if they need any help with that. Melinda helps with that. We also offer the very best online SAT and ACT prep class in the country. We provide that as part of our program. One of the things I think that's very beneficial for what we do, we have a swimmer who wants to major in, say, chemical engineering. We will put together a list of schools that offer chemical engineering and that could be a good fit for that swimmer based on their goal times. Okay. We send that to the swimmers and the parents. The swimmers and parents let us know which schools they really like. And then we contact each one of those coaches individually, personally, and we either get them to contact that swimmer or they're going to have to tell us they're not interested. That's where we don't want the swimmers chasing the coaches. We get the coaches to chase the swimmers. One of the other things we do is we stay with the swimmers and the family until the swimmers complete college. So if we had swimmers that went to the University of Iowa, males, and the program got dropped. So we helped them transfer. Okay, simple and easy. There's no extra cost or anything like that. That's just one of the things that we do. It's also very, very personalized. Okay, that's why we only take a small number of families a month so we can keep this personalized. Okay. I tell you what, why don't we open it up to questions now? Okay. And remember, if you have any interest, you'd like to get one of us, one of our directors giving you a call, probably be me. Go ahead and go to the website, accrecruits.com, submit a free profile. There's no obligation for doing so. There's a lot of free information on the website. Okay. All right, Rob, what do you think?
It's a lot, Rick, but very useful.
We could talk another hour on this, so we need to do another one, maybe 6 months down the road. Guys, let me talk. One quick thing I really forgot to mention is COVID, okay? COVID is having a big impact down here, probably almost as much as it is in Canada. What we are seeing, and I actually surveyed a whole bunch of Division I and Division II coaches a couple of months ago. And they're telling me that they are filling their rosters much earlier than ever before, and they are reducing their roster sizes. I had the Florida State coach tell me that they no longer can hoard talented walk-ons. So I don't know if you follow, like this last year, the University of Texas men, they won their 11th national title. They can only take 18 swimmers and divers to the national championships. They had another 10 guys that qualified for the NCAAs that didn't get to go. Their B team would have finished top 10. That's not going to happen much anymore. It's going to be good for swimming because the talent's going to have to be spread out. And it's going to have to be, there's a lot of great coaches who maybe are not at Texas or Alabama or whatever. And so the talent's going to get spread out, which I think is going to be very good for swimming. Just know that COVID has created even a more pressing timeline, and the chances of you going to walk on at a Florida have been greatly reduced. Okay, so just wanted to mention that. Okay, let's kick it open. Anybody have questions?
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
As you mentioned, Eddie Rees, he is one of those coaches that is openly admitting that he's putting American first, rightfully so, right? He wants to give them scholarship. He wants to prepare them for national teams. But with other coaches, it would be just lots of time, try to contact them and try to go into this university. Do you know any other colleges that are preferring to take American?
Oh, yeah. Yep. University of Texas. Coach Rees, he doesn't need to recruit anybody. He snaps his fingers and gets anybody he wants. He rarely takes international swimmers. School like Santa Barbara, they rarely recruit anybody outside of California. They don't need to. They're in the hotbed of swimming. There are some, but you're going to find that most of the programs out here they're looking for the best students and the best athletes. Okay. When we were at Nebraska, I've coached 11 national champions and only 2 in the US. The rest were from other countries. So a lot of the schools are, they really are going after international swimmers. They love Canadians. My goodness, Canadian kids have great work ethic. All right. They're not afraid to be away from mommy. Okay. A lot of our swimmers in the States they're afraid to get too far from mom. You guys do a great job of raising your kids up there. And we've rarely have had any issues with any Canadians. I think we've got about probably a little less than 200 Canadians that we've helped get to the States or we're currently working with. And rarely do we have any problems. Okay. So yeah, there are some schools that just won't recruit you if you're not from the States, but most of them do. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Come on, I know we got more out there, guys.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I was just wondering if I could ask a question. Would the possibility of it being able to swim for another country, for example, we live in Canada, but she could swim for Croatia. I'm just wondering if that's something that could be like a highlight, that she's going to try to represent a different country and
Yes.
That's one of her.
Yeah, definitely. That coaches, not all of them, but most coaches, they love to work with kids who have that Olympic potential, whether it's for Croatia or the US or Canada or whatever. let's face it, making the Canadian Olympic team is really tough. I actually coached a Croatian Olympian, in the early 90s. You want to find coaches that go, wow, we've got a chance to work with an Olympian. Okay. There are a lot of coaches out there like that. They can also use that for recruiting. Hey, come swim with us. We've got, we had, one of our swimmers made the Olympic team. Nobody really asked which country, but that's definitely a possibility. And I want to congratulate you guys. I think you had 3 Olympians, and I don't know what you did with McIntosh, but my goodness, that's really good. If you were a college program, they would use summer to help them with recruiting. So that definitely helps. But you want to find the coaches that are going to support that. Okay. That, she probably would have to go back to Croatia at some point in time, maybe to qualify for meets or whatever, certainly for Olympic trials. You want to make sure you find a coach that's going to support that. We've actually had coaches that will actually fly over to the meet with their swimmers and work with the club coaches. But we want to try to do with the kids, especially at that level, is make sure the college coaches will work with the club coaches. Make sure the coach will work with Rob. And try to coordinate that schedule. But very good question. Yeah, definitely use that Olympic possibility at Croatia.
So, and because we have actually put something in for NCAA or LinkedIn with that and got a number or whatever.
Mhm.
We have heard that in certain states, like for example, Florida, they have some like special arrangement with One Canada for scholarships, and also with Eastern European countries, that sort of thing. Is that something that you would know about as well, or is?
Yeah, you're talking about the Florida Canada linkage. It's
Yeah.
called linkage program.
Yeah.
And what they do, and not all of the schools in Florida participate. I thought they did, but I don't know why they wouldn't. But Florida basically will partner with, if they have a Canadian, let's say, and we've had this happen many times, we have a Canadian swimmer, they go to a school in Florida, well, they automatically get what's called in-state tuition. Most schools have out-of-state tuition, which is almost twice the amount of in-state tuition. So if in-state tuition's 10 grand, out-of-state tuition is probably going to be well over 20. So what they do with the linkage program is they can get the Canadian swimmers in, and automatically you start with in-state tuition, which saves a lot of money. It's called Florida Canada linkage. It's not as strong as it used to be, though. I don't know if they've kind of run out of money with it, or it's. So you're going to have to really ask about that. When we have one of our swimmers work with the school, it gets recruited by a school in Florida, and we have them ask the question, what will it cost? Okay. We hope the coach will mention the linkage program. If they don't, you don't want to go in and say, Coach, I'd like to come to the University of Florida. I understand you got the linkage program. No, don't do that. Let the coach come up with that on their own. If they don't, then you could mention it, but you don't want to mention that up front because, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, we don't have to give you any scholarship money then. Okay. So yeah, that's what you're talking about. A lot of schools down here too they have reciprocity with other states. For instance, Idaho has, if you're from neighboring states, you get in-state tuition. There are some schools that actually partner with certain of your provinces up there. Not a lot of them, but there will be. Hey, if you're from Ontario, you get in-state tuition. You got to do some research on that, though.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Yeah. In the beginning, you mentioned Tristan Kate, and he didn't go to States. He stayed in Canada. Are you working with Canadian University as well?
Yep.
First question. And how do you decide what should be a logic? Go to States or stay in Canada?
Well, here's the thing. And, in Canada, I'm not here going to tell you, oh my gosh, you're going to come to the States to swim fast. That's not true at all. We don't have better coaches. We have more coaches. We don't have better coaches. You got some great coaches up there, club coaches. A lot of your college coaches. They're outstanding. We don't have better schools. You have great schools up there. What we have down here that you don't have up there is when you come down here, you learn how to race. Let's face it, you're in Canada, you swim against mainly the same kids year after year after year. You go to college in Canada, you're swimming against the same swimmers that you grew up with. You get a pecking order, all right? I'm sure when Ali swam, he knew if Tristan was in the IM, he wasn't going to beat him, so third place would be okay. You don't have that down here. Like he said, it's so team oriented. All you know is we have a dual meet with this team, and I'm swimming whatever I need to swim to help the team, and I got to tie my suit on tight and give it my best shot. You know, you might have been next to Katie Ledecky in a dual meet, or Caleb Dressel in it. You don't have a chance. You just go give it your best shot. I believe the Canadians and all swimmers that come to the States, they learn how to compete. They learn how to compete without having a pecking order. You know, hey, I've been training my tail off. Somebody's got to win this race. It might as well be me. I see that a lot. I think that helped with a lot of the swimmers we had come down here and try to make the Canadian Olympic team. We've had 8 Canadian Olympians we've worked with, and they learned how to race. I think that's the biggest part here. Not that you don't learn how to race in Canada, but it's a lot more down here. You like I say, you got dual meets about every week, every other week. It's your team against my team. Your teammates are there to support you. It's just not quite the same up there. Okay, so we do work with all the Canadian schools too. I mean, with Tristan, we work with Tristan Cote. He found his best fit at Calgary. Great, that's what we want. We're not out here to steal the kids, but you know, the recruiting's so much different in Canada. They don't recruit very much. And they usually wait till you're a senior, and they wonder why kids come to the States. Well, if you've got, 15 college coaches down here telling you how great you are and how much you're going to scholarship and how much they want you, then you have a Canadian coach come on at the end saying, hey, we'd like to have you come. We don't have any scholarship. You can see why that happens. And there's not enough schools in Canada to take care of everybody up there that wants to swim in the States. We've got over 600 women's teams down here. Okay, that's a lot of schools to pick from. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's interesting
You're
point of view.
welcome.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody else. We got some chats. Let me see. All right. Somebody said if you're in grade 12, too late. No, you're late, very late, but not too late. It just depends. Like I said, schools, recruiting comes and goes. All right. Today they might be interested. Tomorrow they may not. They may fill their spot. So do not give up. And you've always got a gap year too. Okay. Anybody else?
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, absolutely.
Last year, because of COVID, ACT, CAT was kind of dropped. University
Right.
was not requesting them. How long do you think it will last, or it's already back?
Well, the NCAA, due to COVID, the NCAA basically said, hey, you don't have a TABA test score to be eligible. And I had a lot of our students go, yippee, we don't have to take scores. No. Keep in mind, part of the academic scholarships are based on SAT and ACT. Okay, so yes, you definitely want to take them. Now, guys, another thing that happened with COVID, I don't know, it's going to be a little difficult to understand, but last year, the NCAA basically gave everyone an extra year of eligibility. They said, oh, this year doesn't count. Well, that's a great idea, but the problem is who's going to pay for that? Okay, let me kind of explain to you, and I've talked with a lot of the, especially the Division I coaches, and the problem they have is they may have a swimmer in their junior year. Okay, when they recruited them, they knew, okay, you've got one more year, and then I'm going to have to go out and recruit somebody to fill your spot. Okay, the question they have now, these kids have an extra year. Now, the coach has to decide, do I give this junior scholarship money for an extra year, or do I go and find a recruit that's going to help me for 4 years? That is really creating a lot of problems for these college coaches, okay? And what it does is it brings in, now they're basically more recruits okay, in the pipeline because you didn't think about the kids that were already in college that would be considered a recruit. Yeah, they're all considered recruits. And not everybody's going to take the extra year just to swim, but a lot of them are. So the coaches, the scholarship money is really kind of messed up. Like I said, do they give extra money to the kid they already have, or they go out and find a swimmer who for 4 years? It is really crazy, and it is changing. That's one of the things that we make sure with the people we work with. We make sure you guys know any change in NCAA rules. You know about it before anybody else. We actually, one of my coaches is our NCAA compliance director. And he goes right to the NCAA about any, like with the COVID issue. We wanted to know what's happening. And this is what's happening. And this is how it's impacting the coaches and the teams. Good question, though.
Thank you.
What we'll do too, guys, if like I said, if you do a free profile, I'll give you a call and we'll talk about, I'll actually suggest schools, okay, based on your swimmers, what they want to study and their grades, and based on like their events. I will, even if we're not working together, I'll be able to suggest, if you're interested in psychology, here's some good schools and with solid coaches, things like that. That's a big part of what we do. We can't tell swimmers where to go. We can make sure they have all the questions, them and their parents have all the questions to ask before they make that commit. So if a lot of times we'll get kids looking at a school where we go, man, that coach is not very good. I can't tell you they're not very good, but I can tell you, hey, ask these questions so you find out for yourself. Okay. Anybody else want to talk about their particular swimmer and grades and times and possible schools?
It's Michelle again. Sorry, I have another quick question.
Sure.
I'm wondering if you have advice in regard to my swimmer wants to go to med school.
Okay.
And so she's also looking at schools that particularly are for medicine and hoping to have the swimming as well. So it's a challenge. Which one do you prioritize? I mean, swimming won't be there forever. You want to get into a good college to get the education that you want. But then are you giving up the coaching too? Like, you're trying to come up with the sweet spot between the three, right?
Yeah.
So looking for advice as to where you would suggest putting your biggest priority. I would think that you're going to say academics, but
well, we've got 4 professional swimmers. They make about $2,000 a month. That's not exactly professional. Okay. So, what we want the kids to understand, let's leverage your swimming to help you get that academic fit. Yes. The key there is really trying to find the best school that will help her get into med school. Okay. That's what we've been doing all these years. We've actually got databases of schools that offer pre-med that do the best getting into med school. We've got schools that, offer biomedical engineering. A lot of it depends on what she wants to do. Does she want to be a doctor, be up front? Does she want to do research? Will she need to major in pre-med or maybe just biology? More schools that offer biology than they do pre-med. That's where we do the research and stuff. And it so much depends on how fast she is and what her grades are. I'm sure med school, you better be a great student and you better start now because like the university down here, look at your grades from 9th grade on up. So it's not like, I'll better start paying attention now that I'm in the 11th grade. No. So that will be very important for her to not only have good grades now, but maintain them in school. But yeah, there are a lot of great schools. We have a lot of our swimmers major in nursing and pre-med. Okay. We try to help them find that right fit, for the coach I know some coaches down here who actually run special practices for their nursing students because of nursing so demanding, or their architecture students. Okay, not every coach does that, but that's after 21 years, we know the ones that do and the ones that don't. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure, fire away.
I hope I'm asking something that everyone can just be interested. Is it possible? I mean, do all American university has have an undecided major? Because not all kids, I mean, at least not mine, knows what exactly he wants to do. He has some general idea. It might be.
That's a great question. I'm glad you touched on it. I kind of forgot to touch on it. Let's face it, you're especially nowadays, you might be 15 or 16 years old getting recruited. Let's face it, you woke up in the morning not even knowing what you're going to wear to school, much less what you want to be when you grow up and where you want to go to school. Here's what we recommend the kids do. Just start eliminating things you know you don't want to do. Okay? You probably know if you want to be a school teacher or not. If you don't, take that off the list. I want to be a doctor. No, I don't want to be a doctor. Take that off the list. Okay? Trim it down. Okay? But don't rush. My story, I was in high school, I swam, everybody told me what a great doctor I'd be. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so okay, I went to college to be a doctor. 2 years in, I'm going, what was I thinking? I don't want to be a doctor. And so I didn't waste 2 years, but I was misguided. So don't rush. And there are most schools, you do not have to declare a major right away, okay? So don't rush. And give it time. Once we work with a lot of kids who I can't help identify academic schools because they don't know what they want to study. But once they kind of realize, you know, hey, I'd like to go into this or that, then we're able to suggest, take a look at these 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 schools that could be the right fit. Because you guys, you don't know all the schools down here. We have a lot of times after the kids go to pick a school, I'll hear from kids and parents saying, wow, I would have never known about that school if it hadn't been for you folks. So that's what we do, is help you guys identify schools that could be that right fit. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else out there? Come on, I know you don't know it all. Well, we're going to start partnering with you guys, okay, officially, all right? Which means any of the families with the Tobacco who are interested in getting some help, you get priority over our openings. We've got about a 6-month waiting list for anybody who is not part of our partner teams. We're going to start partnering with Markham. And where did Indy go? Indy's, what team is Indy with?
With Barry now.
Okay. So when we partner with like NCAP, Mission Viejo, Bowl School, Swim Mac, a lot of teams down here, it really helps with you guys. We're going to be able to do a recruiting education seminar for you guys like this once, twice a year, whatever Rob wants to do. All right. And for every swimmer that signs up with us, we make a donation back to the club. It's kind of our way of helping the club stay in business with COVID and things like that. So just kind of keep that in mind, guys. So, but the thing is, if you're interested, do the free profile. It's first come, first serve. And we just don't have, I only got about 4 openings. Normally have about 4 or 5 openings each month. So if we get you on a waiting list, then we will definitely, you guys get moved to the top of the waiting list. Somebody asked for my email. My email it's simple. It's rick@accrecruits.com. So if you want to email me, once again, you do the free profile, we'll talk. I tell you this, we do not accept anybody into our program unless we're sure we can help them. Okay, so you don't ever have to worry about, well, are they just going to take my money? No, that's not what we do, guys. Okay, so we're very careful about that. And we want to make sure you're very realistic. It'd be easy to tell you, hey, send us your money, we'll get you at Harvard. That's not what we do. Okay, we make sure the parents are very realistic about this too. Okay. Do we have somebody asked a question about AP advanced placement? Yeah, very important with the high-end academic schools. Okay, they want you to be challenged. Now, we always get this question too: is it better to take really hard classes and make C's, or 70%, or take easy classes and make A's? It's a balance. You don't want to take an AP course and get a C on or get 65%. So it's a balance. You got to kind of find that balance. Okay. One of the other things too, volunteer work is very important to get admitted into the upper level academic schools. Melinda, our academic advisor, is one of the foremost experts in the country on what it takes for academic to get in, for volunteer work. A couple other things. You want to separate yourself from everybody else. Personalize your voice message on your cell phone. Instead of hello, you've reached 552-333, blah, 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 leave a message. It needs to be, hi, you've reached Rob. Can't wait to talk to you. Please leave your message and I'll call you back. Okay. Social media. Coaches are following you on social media when they know about you. Get rid of anything controversial on social media. Okay. We have our own social media page where we have our swimmers, if they're interested in like Ivy League schools or whatever, we want them to talk about their volunteer work. We put that on our social media page. We would have you do the same thing. Okay, but they will track you, and it's a good way to get disqualified, just by something silly that you put on social media. Somebody asked, do schools care about the IB program? Absolutely. We know that is a crazy tough program. All right. Yes, it definitely gives you a big advantage, especially when you're talking to schools like Harvard or Duke or whatever. That IB program definitely sends a message to the coaches. Okay. Let's see. What are the questions? We talked about grade 12. Good. Brett, you got that clarified about grades. Okay, we have a new one. Guys, if you have any more questions, please speak up or go ahead and do it in the chat. Okay. I don't look like somebody's typing. Rob, how about you? You've sent a lot of kids to the States. Do you find coaches out there, some coaches in college, coaches work with you better than others, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And all those aspects that you talked about and their importance in long course training as well to help for trials and their preparation for potential junior teams or senior teams, depending on their age, obviously.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you look at a school's website, look at that beautiful indoor 50-meter pool they got. They must train long course. Do not assume that. I know coaches who will never take the bulkhead out. So I don't care what, having a 50-meter pool doesn't mean anything. You got to ask, coach, how much training do you do long course? Most coaches will shift long course during the Olympic year, but heck, you guys in Canada, you don't care about yards. You want to, it's your swimmers. You want to know if that coach is going to be doing long course training. Okay, it's a good question to ask. Guys, don't assume things too. That's the first thing we tell everybody that we work with. Don't assume. Well, I emailed that coach and they didn't email me back, so I assume they're not interested. Or, oh, that coach called me and asked me for an official visit. I assume they're going to give me a big fat scholarship. No. Don't assume. Okay. If you're interested in a school, you keep going after them till you find out. And that can be very frustrating, but we take a lot of the frustration away. Anybody else?
One more question.
Sure.
You mentioned a few times that it might be kind of late, not just grade 12, but grade 11. But our kids who are 16 right now, the most recent swimming time was dated when they were 14. How do you plan to work around these things? Because it's not very soon that they will get quite a challenging meet when they can show the real potential. So it's all will be assumption. And even we parents, we're not sure where they are. They changed the laws like since these 14 years old. Yeah. I know.
That's a really good question. We really had to do that with COVID, where, Johnny hadn't had a swim meet for a year and a half. He's what we found too, and I think you guys probably will too, is even though you haven't been able to swim, or there are times when you can't swim, do your dry land, get stronger. That most of the swimmers we work with who weren't able to swim got a lot stronger because they focused on dry land, and the swimming didn't, without having to swim, it allowed them to recover and build more strength. So take advantage of that. that's what we have them talk to the coaches about. Coach, I want to let you know, I haven't been haven't been in the water for a month, but I've been doing dry land training like crazy. I can do pull-ups. I can do this. That little bit there is important. What we've done, and when it got really bad, when nobody was swimming in meets, we would basically present the kids' goals to the coaches. Okay, if we had a swimmer, let's say we had a boy who was, 103 fly. All right, that was a year and a half ago. But now he's a lot stronger. His goal is to go 59.9 or faster. And we educated the kids on how to sell the coaches on your goals. And that's what we presented to the coaches. Coach, don't look at this young man as a 103, look at him as a 59. And it really worked because coaches were stuck too. They had to recruit kids who hadn't been in the water in so long. Okay. So that, it works both ways there. Okay. So that's a big part of it. Once again, that's why video is important. Now, here's what we've had too. We've had some of the Canadian coaches do it is, okay, we don't have any swim meets. We're not allowed to go to swim meets. Coach, run like an official time trial. It doesn't have to be overly official, but that if you certify that Johnny went, a 101 100-meter fly and it was timed properly, then we use that. And the coaches understand that too. So especially for video, remember, video needs to be taken in competition. They don't want to see practice video. So you don't have any meets. How do you get competition video? Run a time trial, coach, if you can, and like I said, it doesn't have to be certified necessarily, but parents can get video of their swimmers. They want to see what these kids look like when they're racing. Okay. So you can get video of your swimmer. It can't be in practice, but it can be a time trial. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, hey, one quick thing, guys. I am having my knee replaced on Monday. All right. So those of you that do the free profile, I'll try to give you a call today, maybe tomorrow, maybe not. Monday, I'm going to be out of it. Tuesday, probably won't. I won't start following up till probably Thursday, but I'll probably have my assistant, Lori, follow up with some of you. She's been with me for a long time. She's fantastic. She does a great job. So especially those of you who are in grade 11 now or grade 12, we want to follow up right away. Okay. But even grade 10, it's important. What we've done with all of our grade 10 swimmers, even now, is we've got them in front of the coaches so the coaches know about it. As we get farther and farther along, we start to target schools leading up to June 15th. So really, like in the first part of June, we make sure our swimmers are among the last swimmers the coaches see before they can start contacting high school sophomores. You need to do the same thing if you do it yourself. Okay. Okay, Rob, if you get any more questions, just shoot them to me in an email. I'll be happy to answer them. Like I said, anybody that wants to like talk on the phone, I will be happy to talk with you, give you plenty of free advice. Like I said, we're about helping you guys. Anybody wants to swim in college, I want to help you get there. Whether you work with us or not, we don't have room for everybody. So we don't have room. We give you plenty of free advice. Okay.
That's great, Ray. Thanks so much.
Okay. Hey, keep up the great work, man. You guys are doing a fantastic job up there. I am really proud to let everybody else know that we partner with you guys. That's really important. Okay. Let me know when we want to do another one. Maybe we want to do one, I don't know, maybe sometime in the spring, especially for your 10th graders. Okay. We could certainly do something like that too. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we'll connect for sure.
Okay. All right. Sounds good, buddy. Hey, guys, stay safe up there. All right. And don't give up. There are plenty of places to swim in college.
All right, thanks again, Rick. Thanks again, Allie. And thanks again, everybody, for staying tuned and being a part of it. We'll see everybody soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.